Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. You're listening to Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio. Do not forget, if you've got a listener story about how Focal Point or AFR Talk in general has ministered to you, call us at 877-876-8893. I'm going to repeat it again. Write it down. Call that number. It'll give you a direct line. You can record your story. We may be able to use it during Share-a-thon, which is coming up on April 8 through 10. That number again, write it down, 877-876-8893. Call us and let us know how Focal Point or any other program on AFR Talk has meant something to you. Now, I want to talk about something that is important to me, and I believe it's very important to you, and that is the dignity of the office of the President of the United States. Now, you look at a Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan had a tremendous respect for the office. George Bush had a tremendous respect for the office. I don't believe Ronald Reagan ever even went into the Oval Office without wearing a suit and tie. You know, you would never see Ronald Reagan in the Oval Office, as we had the picture of Barack Obama talking with Vladimir Putin in jeans with the shirt sleeves rolled up. You would never see that with Ronald Reagan. I'm not saying that it's wrong for President Obama to do it. It was a Saturday. So don't misunderstand me. I'm not criticizing Obama for what he did. I'm saying that Ronald Reagan, for him personally, he had such regard for the office of the presidency, he wouldn't be caught dead in the Oval Office without being in a suit. Now, George Bush similarly had tremendous respect and regard for the office of the presidency, which is one of the reasons why he did not fire back at his critics. It's the main reason he didn't fire back at his critics. He was tarred, he was feathered, he was tarnished, he was impugned, he was attacked relentlessly, and he never fought back. And his explanation was always the same. I have too much regard, too much respect for the office of the presidency to get down in the gutter and start slinging mud with these guys. I'm not going to let the office of the presidency be pulled down to that level. Now, I want to play a soundbite. You might have heard about this before. I just play one excerpt, about a 6.5-minute interview that Barack Obama did with a comedian, a comic actor. I don't even know how you say his last name, Galifianakis or something like that. I've never seen anything he's been in. Wasn't even aware of this program until President Obama went on there and did this interview with him. I think he was a star in 2 or 3 movies called, I think there were 3 of them, Hangover. There's a Hangover 1, they did a sequel, Hangover 2, and they finally did a Hangover 3. And he was like the star in those Hangover movies. So he has this program called Between Two Ferns. You look at the set, there's one fern over here, and there's one fern over here, and there's Zach Galifianakis and sitting just inside one fern, and there's his guest sitting inside the other fern. So the interview takes place between two ferns. Now, it's designed to be a parody of talk shows. And so it's just satire, and there's sarcasm, and they're poking fun, and it's all supposed to be snarky and kind of hip and edgy. And Barack Obama, as the President of the United States, went on with Zach Galifianakis, or whatever his name is, to be a part of this parody talk show. And I want you to listen to this dialogue between this interviewer, who's, you know, he's mocking serious talk shows and all that. So they're trying to have fun. I didn't find any one part of this skit funny myself. In fact, I watched about 3.5 minutes of it. I couldn't watch anymore. I actually turned it off. I just couldn't watch anymore because it was so disturbing to me, I guess is the most modest word I can use to describe my reaction. But here is President Obama talking to this comic actor between two ferns. Let's listen.
I have to know, what is it like to be the last black president?
Seriously? What's it like for this to be the last time you ever talked to a president?
It must kind of stink, though, that you can't run, 3 times.
No, actually, I think it's a good idea. If I ran a third time, it'd be sort of like doing a third Hangover movie. Didn't really work out very well, did it?
All right, so that's Barack Obama. And this is all scripted. So he's, I don't know, and I'd be curious if your reaction is different. Maybe you thought it was cute. Maybe you thought it was harmless. I've had some conservatives have been defending him. Neil Cavuto yesterday is out there saying, hey, look, Republicans need to go into these forums They need to go into these venues because this is where young voters are. And it's interesting, by the way, speaking of this, Rick Perry, I'm going to shift gears. Rob, let's drop down to the Rick Perry clip. It's number 7. Governor Rick Perry was on the Jimmy Kimmel program last night. So here's somebody that goes into these venues. He went in there. It was in Austin, Texas, and he received this rousing, enthusiastic reception. Now, Austin has a reputation of sort of being this liberal outpost in the middle of a conservative state. That's where the University of Texas is. So it tends to be far more liberal than the rest of the state. And I think Governor Perry expected a much frostier reception. He got a very, very enthusiastic reception, very supportive, a lot of applause. And I think Governor Perry maintained his dignity throughout the whole thing, which I do not think President Obama did in this Between the Two Ferns. I thought that was just a debacle. I thought that was an embarrassment to the presidency, an embarrassment to the Oval Office. It was an embarrassment for the country to have our president demean himself in this way and diminish the office of the president. In fact, I've often said, you can be criticized for criticizing President Obama because you ought to show more respect for the president. And my point is, my respect is for the office. I have tremendous regard for the office of the presidency of the United States. I think that office deserves respect. It deserves to be honored. And what that means, if we believe that about the office of the presidency, that it is an office that deserves to be respected, then we are going to be the quickest people on planet Earth to criticize somebody who demeans and diminishes the office, diminishes that office, because we have respect for the office. And we want those who hold that office to be worthy of that office, to be honorable occupants of that office, and not to tarnish it, not to diminish it, not to demean it. And if they do, we're going to criticize them, not because we don't respect the presidency, but for exactly the opposite reason, because we do. Now here's Rick Perry. This is kind of sliding a little bit off topic, but Rick Perry, clip number 7, Jimmy Kimmel. And Jimmy Kimmel is asking him about running for the presidency based on what happened in 2012.
Why would you run for president? I mean, it didn't go that great last time.
You know, America is a great place for second chances.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
Let's just leave it at that.
So I'm going to just leave it at that. America's a great place for second chances. So no question, Rick Perry is seriously considering running for the presidency 2016. Now, clip number 2, this is Jim Avila, Rob, ABC, asking Jay Carney about what I think was this utter debacle of this appearance on Between the Two Ferns. And I think, again, what's more significant, Jay Carney never answers any of these questions. He just obfuscates, he bloviates. It's just gas and hot air, doesn't say anything. He's obviously avoiding the question, never gives anything substantive in response, just dances around everything. So the important thing in this soundbite is not so much what Jay Carney says, but it is the questions that Jim Avila, who's with ABC. I mean, this is a media outlet that is in the hip pocket of the Obama administration. They are a part of his press team. They're part of the Obama press office. They're not journalists. There's nothing objective about what they do. So when you start having members of the mainstream media like Jim Avila, ABC, ask these kind of questions, that's pretty significant. He's asking Jay Carney about this appearance of Barack Obama on this wholly scripted parody show Between the Two Ferns. Let's listen.
Jay,
Yeah.
how much discussion was there in the White House, however, about the dignity of the office and whether or not, in order to reach these people who don't watch us at 6:30 or who don't watch this briefing, is how much the balance there was, how much dignity of the office might be lost. This was an interview that, like no other, probably ever done by a president.
Safe to say.
So, how much discussion was there in the White House about this?
Look, we're constantly looking at different ways to reach Americans who don't necessarily get information about healthcare.gov from evening news broadcasts or from the newspapers.
Low information voters.
But who might either watch the town hall we did last week with Spanish language networks, or watch Funny or Die, or watch some of the other things we've done, the WebMD interview that we're doing, and get the information they need, or at least get motivated to find the information they need to decide whether or not they're going to enroll.
I understand the purpose, but was the presidency in any way, the presidency, damaged or lost dignity because
I mean,
of this?
we obviously assess opportunities that we have, and look at whether or not they're going to be successful and wise, and I think we made the right call here.
So even Jim Avila, I mean, he cannot get away from this question. Jim Avila, hardcore leftist. He's he's one of President Obama's press agents. He's there to serve the interest of the president's agenda, to make him look good, to be a hack and a flack for the president. He's on the same team with President Obama. He's a cheerleader for President Obama. And even Jim Avila, a mainstream media type, is asking questions about whether this appearance compromised the dignity of the office. He asks that question twice. What about the dignity of the office? How much was the dignity of the office? How much was of the dignity of the office was lost? And then he asks it again because Jay Carney will not give him a straight answer. Was the presidency in any way damaged? So that's significant to me that if you got even a member of the mainstream media thinks that maybe this wasn't the best use of the president's resources, and there's a certain amount of, gravitas is an overused word, but there's a certain amount of weight that we rightly attach to the office of the presidency. He's not a king. We don't regard him as a king. We don't revere him as a king. He's a president, not a king. But we have tremendous regard and respect for him because he is the symbol of this nation. He is the leader of this nation. And so we have regard for the authority that he holds because we believe that's delegated authority from God, and for the position he holds. And here's even a member of the mainstream media. He's obviously kind of cringing at this and kind of uncertain. He doesn't think maybe this is good for the dignity of the office and thinks it might have even resulted in damage to the presidency. I'd like to know what you think. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Give us a call. Join the conversation. We'll be right back. Focal Point, AFR Talk.